We continue our story with Overlord looking at his destruction, admiring it, enjoying it. The smell of burnt flesh in the air, charred bodies everywhere, destroyed vehicles, bloody corpses. And this is where Space Bridge opens and Team Magnus enters. Ultra Magnus, Windblade, Lightbright, Soundwave, and Dreadwing all walking in. And they look at it. And Magnus is horrified and disgusted. And he's like, so, it seems your reputation still precedes you after all these years, Overlord. And Overlord chuckles and simply states, Magnus, it's been so long. And I can't remember the last time I seen you. Oh, wait. I think it was the time I ripped Pyro piece by piece in front of you. And Ultra Magnus clenches his fist and states, you will pay for what you did that day. For every Cybertronian you demolished. And for Caminus. And this is where Overlord gets a full sadistic laugh and states, oh, come on now, Magnus. It was just my job. Well, both my job and my daily pleasure. And oh, standing beside someone is Dreadwing. Oh my gosh. How's your brother, Dreadwing? Oh wait, he's dead, isn't he? To which Dreadwing says, you will pay for that insult. And immediately takes out his cannon and starts opening up with a full clip. And simply tells the other Autobots to open fire. Hold nothing back against him. He wants a fight, he's getting one. To which Ultra Magnus gladly obliges, and him, Soundwave, and Dreadwing all just open fire upon him, not leaving anything to chance. And keep in mind, Overlord is enjoying this because his armor is made of Unutrium. So yeah, his body is very durable, and he laughs at this here. And this is because, again, he's quite literally way too durable for it. However, this is where Soundwave adjusts his sonic frequency, and this hurts Overlord, causing him to yell out in pain and even spilling energy out from him. And he's like, almost forgot about you. Megatron's lapdog. Of course you're smart enough to figure this out. However, before he can retaliate or physically charge at Soundwave, Ultra Magnus slams into the back of him and begins wailing on him, telling him this is for all the death he's caused. However, Overlord then rams his hand through him, gutting Ultra Magnus. This doesn't kill him, but that does injure him. Soundwave, utilizing his tendrils, uses one to trip Overlord and then one to pull back Magnus, and actually begins trying to stabilize his wound. And so Overlord rushes over to them, drawing his blade and getting ready to come down from the top rope and slice both of them in half. However, Dreadwing is the one to come in and save them, and then actually kicks him back. However, Overlord replies with his own kick, sending Dreadwing, well, flying, and quite far, mind you, because again, he is a very powerful Decepticon. However, this is where he tells them now, and this is where they both drop out of a space bridge created by Soundwave. And this is where Windblade and Lightbright slash right down on Overlord, causing him tremendous pain. To which Lightbright simply states, our swords were adjusted just for this occasion. Nice, hot, and powerful. Just like our mistress's flame. And this is where they begin slashing him up, and Dreadwing notices that they're cutting him and simply explains that aim for a single area. And he's actually doing this through the comms so Overlord can't hear them. And Windblade and Lightbright both comply with this. So they start slashing up at least one part of Overlord. And I would definitely say this has to be his chest area, because again, it is one of the bigger targets. And Overlord is trying his best. And this is where Dreadwing looks at Soundwave and states, do you think you can add more to it? To which Soundwave says, yeah, just give me a moment or give me an opening and then I'll take it. And so this is where Overlord actually does try to transform into his tank form and, well, begins blasting at him. However, this is where Soundwave takes the opportunity to essentially pull a Jazz, transforming and, well, wheeling around Overlord here before straight up doing the same thing, pulling his tank part aside, and then Overlord transforms and is about to stomp on Soundwave. However, Soundwave, again, very quick and very determined, rams Overlord and smashes him into the ground and begins wailing on the same part that Windblade and Lightbright have pretty much cut up. And this actually begins to not only dent, but he begins to shatter it, kind of like how Optimus did, 6-shot. And so Overlord throws Soundwave off and is about to blast him. However, Ultra Magnus comes out of nowhere or from the left or right side and then simply uppercuts Overlord, sending him back. This then allows Windblade to get in another slash on him, and then Lightbright follows suit, stabbing right through the armor, but not enough to get through the other layer. And believe it or not, they're all just jumping Overlord at this point, giving him everything he's got. Magnus does have to kind of keep back a little bit because of his injury, but he does get physical when he's able. However, Overlord is now overwhelming them, and this is where he simply states, you thought by killing me was going to, or by targeting this one point on me was actually going to work? Do you know how much I've been through? And this is where Dreadwing comes in and actually punches Overlord. But this is where Overlord simply punches him back and asks him, did you really think that would work? You're not even on my level. And this is where Dreadwing simply states, no, I'm not. Not physically anyway. But mentally, I am your superior. And this is where he looks at him, what? And this is where Ultra Magnus comes in with a sliding haymaker, but drops to one knee as he pretty much is, still kind of injured. And this is where Dreadwing simply pulls out his device and states, we've always been better than you, Overlord. And now as a team, we're going to finish you. And presses his detonator with Overlord looking at his chest, and he's like, no. As an explosion goes off, leaving him without the Unutrium armor and just a protoform skeleton, if you will. And this is where Windblade simply walks over to him. For your crimes against Earth and for your crimes against Caminus, you are hereby sentenced to death. And Windblade swings her blade down, decapitating Overlord. Everyone then calms down, with Magnus holding his guts still and kind of just limping over to where Soundwave is able to then catch and stabilize him. And Dreadwing simply states, it's over. Oh, it's finally over. Well, at least this part, if I recommend. Am I correct? To which Soundwave simply nods and says, indeed, we still have to get to Cybertron. We still have to, destroy Trypticon. And this is where they actually hear a communication from Ratchet telling him that, actually, I have another task for you. But right now, get back to base so I can repair you guys. You guys may want to use this for the future. And this is where Windblade simply states, all right, let's get back to base. Hopefully Primus' team can hold him off until we arrive. But whatever Ratchet's got, it definitely sounds important. But I want you guys to actually think for yourself. What is Ratchet contacting them about? What did they find? What didn't they find, I should really say. And so this is where we head over to Cybertron. And everything looks grim, just as usual. But this is where we actually see 5 cars driving. And that would be Optimus, Knockout, RC, Bumblebee, and Wheeljack. Team Prime, right then and there, just looking over Cybertron, with them actually stopping at a location just to kind of take it in. And they actually think Trypticon may land here, with Optimus looking around for the moment, simply stating that all these years of fighting, just to now be at a cataclysmic event. To which Wheeljack simply states, yeah, I hear you, Prime. Only wish Bulkhead was here to say this. But this is where Knockout looks over to something and sees something moving. And he's like, spit it out already. What, tie. To which Optimus is like, no, it can't be. He sacrificed himself. How is he? And this is where he sees Metroplex. And obviously not normal colored either. He's dark, purple, undead. And keep in mind, unlike the Terracons, Metroplex has no wear and tear damage. He was never damaged except from that warp cannon, but again, he was fine after that. And in his hands, he sees Unicron in possession of Megatron's body, who is now no more than a broken man after what happened to him. And this is where he sees Optimus and says, "Disciple of Primus," and transforms and flies at him, telling his Titan to continue on with the mission. Optimus then draws the Starsaber, telling his Autobots that he will handle this, to which Unicron transforms and lands down in front of him, summoning a dark energon mace, and he states, "Now I shall destroy you." And well, yeah, the Autobots have no other choice but to really try and engage Metroplex. And they do try to damage him a little bit, but this is until Wheeljack simply states, "Yeah, this isn't working. We need to regroup." So he's heading for the Well of Allsparks. We can easily beat him there if we just go now. To which RC simply nods and says, "All right, team, let's move." And so she transforms and drives off and tells Optimus good luck. To which Optimus draws his sword and simply tells Unicron, "This will be the end of you, right here, right now." And they both simply lunge at each other. And now we head over to the Well of Allsparks, where seemingly something's being set up. And this is where the team actually arrives, looking around and seeing a couple structures. And they find it interesting. But unfortunately for them, the big Titan is walking in. And, well, while, yeah, they were able to beat him there, keep in mind this is a 600-foot dude. His steps are basically them running. They're lucky that he can't transform and drive somewhere, even though I think that would also be terrifying. And Wheeljack's like, "Well, this is it. We're not winning this, are we? We're essentially toast, huh?" To which RC simply pulls out her blaster and says, "Yep, but at least we go out fighting." However, this is where Knockout kind of is just like, "I guess this is it, huh? Hey, Bumblebee, kind of sorry for all the things I did to you." To which Bumblebee kind of just nods and just like, "Yeah, I am." Understandable. However, this is where a space bridge opens and out walks Shockwave, stating, "Perhaps it would be better left suited to those who are fit for the task." And this is where Knockout simply looks in horror like, "Wait a minute, Shockwave, you're alive?" To which Shockwave simply looks at him and states, "Don't worry, I'm very well aware of what's going on. I've seen what's been happening, but unfortunately I've not been able to monitor Megatron." And to which this is where the Predacons and Dinobots simply walk out the bridge, with them kind of giving each other, I guess you could say, gruff looks, but knowing good and well what's at stake. To which RC kind of taunts Grimlock here and is like, "So, working with your worst enemy? Thought you were trying to kill him." To which Grimlock looks at her and is like, "Look, first of all, don't taunt me. Second of all, things change. Third of all, it's nice to see you all again, even if it's not under the best circumstances." To which he says, "All things considered, they could use some power right now." And having... Wait, are those Predacons? Yep. Okay, that's, That could actually work, I ain't gonna lie. To which Metroplex simply states, "All hail Unicron." And this is where the Dinobots and Predacons both walk up, now knowing that, well, the stakes are pretty high at this point. And Grimlock simply states, "Dinobots, transform and annihilate." To which Predaking watches them transforms and simply tells his Predacons to transform and annihilate the Titan. And so both teams transform and charge at the Titan, all getting ready to breathe fire. And so that's where we're going to leave it off here. The stakes are set. Metroplex is now a herald or servant of Unicron. Can the Dinobots and Predacons work together to beat them? And can Optimus defeat Unicron? And what did Ratchet find? But that's going to be all today, you guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. And I'll see you guys for the next part. Peace.